Snake, try to remember some of the basics of CQC.
Wait a minute, we've already done this. This might shock you, but modern games tend to be data hogs. So whenever I finish a video, I do my best to purge that data from my computer so it can operate without any bloat. Once I finish my video in Delta, I dumped the game from my computer and got ready for the next project. But one of the comments in my video stuck out to me. And no, it's not the one about inertia. I like that comment. It's very life-affirming. However crazy I think I've become over Metal Gear, words and deeds, words and deeds, words and deeds, words and deeds. Qui-Gon Jinn's there to remind me
there's always a bigger fish.
But there was a comment trying to be helpful when I brought up the Ocelot unit fight, and they mentioned that switching over to legacy controls changes how the AI works, and I had to see if this was true. So, begrudgingly, I reinstalled Delta. Luckily I didn't delete the saves folder yet, and went for a brief legacy run. So here's to you, my guy.
Thank you, guy.
Sure enough, the way Snake presses himself up against the wall looks a lot like how he does in the older games. But unfortunately, it didn't change the outcome, as the Ocelot unit still does that weird double back move that eats up time and causes everyone to notice Snake. So thank you at least for making sure I did my due diligence. I don't think this endeavor was a wash though, because playing with legacy controls actually revealed something to me that I either forgot or never knew about Snake Eater's camera. The original Snake Eater camera follows after the mostly top-down perspective of the first two Metal Gear Solids, but you have the ability to push the right stick in any direction to move the camera and see ahead of Snake. Because there's no Soliton radar, and the detection tools you do have are much more primitive than in past games, this camera serves as a fix of sorts to help you deal with the limited perspective. As a convenience, if you have to keep the camera ahead of Snake, but also have to have your thumb free to press a face button, you can press in the right stick to lock the camera down in the new position. This doesn't work in Subsistence because pressing in the right stick now toggles between the legacy camera and the Subsistence camera, but you can still lock the legacy camera down by pressing in both sticks. That feature carries over into the HD collection, but there's an additional wrinkle to those controls in that pressing left stick by itself now causes Snake to keep his gun drawn while moving. So if you're trying to lock down the legacy camera, you'll see Snake alternate between drawing and holstering his gun. Delta brought back the Snake Eater style of camera locking, which is good as it dropped the bloat from subsequent versions, but the control scheme does lie to you about playing like the original game. The face buttons are remapped to be like the original controls, but the shoulder buttons are still following the modern style, so it's a Frankenstein setup that screws with my muscle memory just as much as the modern controls. Also, I think Snake's crouch walk feels slower and stiffer than in the modern controls, but I can't tell if that's actually the case or a side effect of changing the camera perspective. I didn't mention it in the previous video, but you can't lean in first person view with the modern controls, but you can with the legacy controls by holding down R1 and moving the left stick. My takeaway from all this is that the Delta team should consider revamping how they approach their control schemes for future remakes. Separate the control schemes from the camera perspective for people like me who like the Subsistence camera but hate the modern controls, and actually commit to being faithful to the legacy controls instead of doing this Frankenstein setup. The other notable thing to bring up from the previous video is that I dinged Delta for the distance between patches of ground in the Croc Swamp, but after trying to roll past the mud in every version of MGS3 I could think of, the distance actually feels as far in Snake Eater as it does in either Subsistence or Delta. The reason why it feels shorter in the HD collection is that the game is running at a faster frame rate, so Snake can get out of the mud much faster, which caused me to assume that the collision for those patches of ground were much bigger in the original game compared to the remake. So I'll eat crow on that claim. But yeah, this is the last I'll say about Delta. I'm not surprised at most of the reception I've gotten over the video. Anything that comes off negative about the newest thing will attract pushback. I just wish some of you would do a better job not self-reporting. Well, this update's done. Stay tuned for a video I hope I can finally push out after sitting on it for so long. And happy gaming!